All right, friends and family, thank you guys so much for joining Every Day is a Saturday with your host, me, myself, and I, Brian Roof. Hey guys, I got a very special guest here. He's a United States Marine veteran. He spent 10.5 years in the Marine Corps. His name is Reggie Villanueva. What's going on, man? How you doing?
All right. Thank you for having me, sir.
Absolutely, brother. So let's get to know a little bit about Reggie, man. Let's hear about your Marine Corps, venture. What made you join the Marines? All that good stuff. What did you do in the Marines? Let's go. Let's get it
All
going.
right. Funny story how that happened. I was initially supposed to be an architect major. I met my ex-wife in high school, started going the college route for architecture, and realized that it was going to be a long journey to start creating some income. So I decided to follow my brother-in-law, who was already in boot camp, and went to boot camp so that I could provide for my family.
What year was this when you went to boot camp?
This was 1996.
Okay.
I was a teenager. I mean, I wasn't a delinquent or anything, but I mean, I had straight A's, honor student. I was supposed to advance 2 grade levels, but I chose to stay with my peers. In school, I was doing great. Out of school, I was hanging around the wrong people, and I made some bad decisions. Got arrested for vandalism, doing graffiti. I was doing a mural, and I ended up getting kicked out. My dad was a police officer at the time, kicked me out. I was homeless like at 14 years old. And a close family friend, she's like my big sister. She and her family pretty much took guardianship over me. I straightened up, graduated at Ontario High School, and from there I started pursuing architecture. But I realized it was going to be a long road to even see any type of financial stability as an architect. That's where architects were transitioning to AutoCAD. So the skill of being able to use the pencil was taken over by the computer. So what took us 2 weeks, 3 weeks by pencil, you could do it in 5 minutes with the computer. So I realized, okay, I need to do something now to provide for my family. And I initially went into the Army recruiting office, and they kind of laughed at me, right? I went in there and said, I want to go right now. What's your ASVAB? I'm like, what the hell is that? I said, I want to go right now. Oh, well, you can't go now. Okay, can you go tomorrow? And so I didn't like what the Army was telling me. So I walked across the hallway into the Air Force, because I went into the hallway and just started bouncing back and forth. Air Force was like, oh, you need to score, blah, blah, blah. I had a shaved head, and they were already judging me. So I was like, forget it. There was one guy in there, and he was wearing his blue uniform, and he had like some sweatpants on. I was like, yeah, never mind. So I walked across to the Navy recruiter, and they were getting ready to go to lunch. I was like, can I go today, tomorrow, as soon as possible? And they're like, yeah, that's not going to happen. So I walked into the Marine Corps recruiter's office, and Sergeant Jeffries, I still remember him, he's looking at me and he's like, what do you want? I said, I want to go to boot camp now. He's like, yeah, that's not going to happen. I was like, what do you mean? This is the last, this is the last straw. I mean, you guys need people, right? And said, well, how many pull-ups can you do? So I did my pull-ups. I did about 50 something. And he's like, okay, we're going to go outside. You're going to run. I ran it. And he was like, wow, impressive. Did the sit-ups. He's like, okay, let's have you test. So I tested, and I scored way above what I was supposed to. I said, okay, can I go now? He's like, yeah, you're not going today, you're not going tomorrow. We're going to look at this calendar up here and pick a date, the ship out date. And I was like, all the days are filled up. He's like, yeah, so it's probably going to be a couple of months or two. I said, I don't have that much time because, mind you, I'm starting to go down this road where money's starting to deplete. I'm hanging around the wrong people. I already know the career in architecture is not going to happen. So I'm like, I need to go. So they put me in debt program, the late entry program where, you do drill outside in the parking lot, go out, do area canvassing, which was, to me, a waste of time. But because it was a lot of no's, it was a lot of rejection. And I was like, man, this is really starting to discourage me. But I need something to keep me in line and to provide for my family. And, they put out, the tags. They put all the tags and say, put this in the order you want. And I remember I only put 3 of them. I moved the rest of them to the side. I said, those are the only 3 that are important to me right now. And he looked at me and said, okay, family, education and stability. Whatever the other tags weren't really important to me. So I'm in this delayed entry program. I go to the Marriott, the Hilton. I go to all these hotels where I'm just trying to create a paycheck. And going through backgrounds, they came up with that arrest for vandalism. And I was having a hard time getting jobs. And any job that I did get was through the buddy system. Like, yeah, go ahead. We'll pay you under the table. That wasn't really doing it for me. So I finally got a break at the DoubleTree in Palm Springs, actually Cathedral City. I got my uniform. I was going to be a what do you call that? Banquet server. And I was already dressed up and walking into the DoubleTree. Back then it was called Desert Princess or whatever in Palm Springs. And Sergeant Jeffrey says, ready to ship out? And I'm like, seriously? I just got a job, man. It's like, well, you can ship out tomorrow. I'm like, tomorrow? But I haven't said bye to anyone. He said, well, if you wanted to go, within a day. I said, okay, no problem. I got a job. I'll tell them here's your uniforms. I'm shipping out. And so I did. I ended up going in open contract. Open contract, right? And so they're like, do you have college?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So you're going to get meritorious PFC, as long as your credits are good. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to go to boot camp, come out already promoted. That's really good. And Sergeant Jeffrey's like, you got to be the honor grad. You got to be the honor grad. I'm like, what the hell is that? You graduate Lance Corporal because I'm going to make you PFC, I was like, okay, whatever. I didn't know what the hell that meant. So just run faster than everyone. Yeah. They say do pull-ups, do more pull-ups than everyone. Sit-ups, just do everything better than everyone. I was like, okay, got it. So
easy enough, right?
Yeah. Man, San Diego, we're over there at the Padre Inn. I'm like, this could be chill. We're playing pool. And, everyone's outside smoking. And they're like, okay, time to turn it in because the white bus is coming. And what's the white bus? And mind you, when I was in the delayed entry program, I never went to FCRD with the rest of them because I was out there trying to hustle. And so I never knew what the process was from the Padre Inn, getting on the white bus, and what happens when you get off the bus. Oh, bro. It was a rude awakening because the only person that ever yelled at me was my father, right? And wow. Wow, when I had them drill instructors come on the bus, I was like, oh, damn, what's going on?
Yeah,
on the yellow footprints.
Doors open,
and it was,
man.
it was a blur.
Yeah.
I've been one of the guys behind the actual receiving drill instructor, just like check them out. I'm like, they're intense. And I'm over there in the back of the bus. I'm like, oh, damn. They're lining up, getting on footprints. And it was a blur. It was late at night. I remember it was cold and they're trying to make us read something on the wall. I'm standing on footprints, just kind of looking around, and drill instructors trying to keep me looking forward. And we were out there for a while. Whatever they were reading up there, I was like, I don't know what this article is. What's an article? And so we go into receiving, dumping everything. That was a blur because I was like holding this little green bag, the Bunny Valuable bag, and I was like, damn, they took everything. And next you know, we're doing what they call was fire watch. I'm like, what the hell is fire watch? Where's the fire at?
Yeah, right.
They're like, you got next fire watch. I'm like, no, what the hell? There's a fire. And so I went into boot camp just really not aware. I didn't have any knowledge base of what Marine Corps boot camp
I was a
about.
lot like you when I went in, man. I mean, you at least went into the delayed entry program. I didn't even go there. So when I got in, I was, I think that, what took me by surprise in boot camp is all the marching that we had to do, man.
Yeah.
I was like, in the Marines, they march? What the fuck is this? You know what I mean?
Yeah. The sleep deprivation, the running and stuff, it wasn't a big deal. What was challenging was being in the last rank, and there was like 6 of us that were shorter than everyone's like towering over us. So everything we had to do was at their stride. So every step was like 3 of mine. And I was like, man, I'm at a light jog and they're just marching, right? And they're like, get in step.
And they like to put them long-legged dudes at the front. You know what I mean? Yeah. So all the guys in the back are just up and they're trying to keep up with these daddy long-leg dudes.
Yeah. So they're like, hey, you're a road guard. You need to put the red lens on because you're a tail lights. I'm like, what? And so, man, being one of the shortest, there were 6 of us. So I don't know how it was always me, but I was like, damn, I got the red lens again. I got to run all the way to the front, and then by the time the platoon passed me, I was barely catching my breath. And I'm like, yo, you guys gotta this red lens. I don't want to be the road guard anymore.
You're sitting there jogging in place while everybody's running by.
Yeah, holding this little light, telling people to stop. I'm like, I'm not stopping cars.
The moonbeam.
Yeah, but I learned that road guards or fire watch get to go to early chow and late chow. I was like, oh hell yeah, this is cool because I don't have to be with the platoon getting yelled at all the time. We could just go march in pairs and go eat and elude the drill instructors. But nope, there were drill instructors everywhere. I was like, there's no way we're going to get away with any type of solitude on this base. And that was a rude awakening. My first 5 days, Black Friday, it was crazy. Next thing you know, we're standing on the quarterdeck. Sit down. And we're all, knees against each other's backs and, left hand, left knee, right hand, right knee. And this huge senior drill instructor, looked like Herman Munster, comes out. Sergeant Hernandez just comes out of this duty hut and he's like, I'm over exaggerating, but it was like he was almost hitting the ceiling with his campaign cover. And I was like, damn, that guy is huge. And he was like a perfect V. I was like, that can't be a real man. He was just huge. And had a dip in. And maybe to him, he was just speaking normal conversational tone, but he was loud when he did that senior drill instructor speech. And I was like, oh shit, what the hell did I just get myself into? And he said his speech. I seen all 3 of them go to the position of attention. He goes, drill instructors, unleash hell. I was like, oh, damn. Boom. And Sergeant Gilmer and Sergeant Johnson, that was it. They turned the house upside down, brother. I was like, oh, no, what? We were carrying racks left and right, put everything on top of the racks. Nothing was on the ground. It was just chaos, controlled chaos. Boot camp, I remember bits and pieces of boot camp. If you say something, it'll trigger a memory, but it was a blur. What it felt like a whole year, but it was only three months, man. But it was the best thing that ever happened to me. It gave me direction, structure.
So you went open contract. At what point in time did you find out what your MOS was with it when you graduated boot camp? Because at that point you had to find out whether you were going to MCT or whether you were going to SOI, or how did that?
So everyone on open contract, when we got to SOI, they said, if you're on open contract, go over there. And everyone who knows where they're going, all the grunts went to SOI and went to MCT. When I graduated, it was golf company. The last day, they're telling us, where we're going to MOS school. And so they told me, Villanueva, hell, military police. I was like, what are the chances that I'm going to be a military police officer? And I was like, that's just poetic justice, having been arrested for vandalism, being disobedient to my father and embarrassing him and our family because of that, being homeless at the age of 14 and, another family having raised me and turning my life around at high school graduation. So boot camp was my second pivotal moment in life. It was not the first rude awakening, but it was the second. I was like, whoa, I'm in a different world. This is completely different. I'm not in charge. I realized that I was this small in the world, and my opinion didn't matter. It did not matter during those 13 weeks. And so, yeah. I was a scribe. I was a guide for a little bit because I was one of the shortest, and they're like, you're the guide. And everyone's like, oh. I had no idea what the hell I was doing. So they fired me after, I don't think I made it half a day. When I dropped that guide on stick, I failed. They did it to punish the platoon. And so they're like, they saw my penmanship and they're like, you're the scribe. And I was like, I'm the scribe. What the hell is a scribe? Man, I was up late hours writing these T cards and schedules, and everything they wanted written down was in my handwriting. And Chris O'Boyle, he was the other scribe. But we had a system. We would get it done during like other fire watch, or if we were in class somewhere, we'd tear off a page and we'd get them done throughout the day. So we didn't have to stay up late. But yeah, being scribe, those were the days, man. Rude awakening.
Yeah, I never got to do be a scribe, but I definitely was a squad leader for a point in time. I started off as squad leader, got fired probably about midway through, and then they re-got me as the squad leader like right before graduation. But yeah, never was a scribe. But I definitely remember all that stuff, man. The little house rat, they had the scribe.
Oh yeah,
the mail
I was a house
clerk,
mouse.
Yeah, the house
I was a house mouse. They would have me organize all the mail. I remember organizing all the mail in their presence, of course, and separate the candy, the pictures that girlfriends would send, and they call someone in, recruit so and so. They come in, and I'd be holding mail that wasn't supposed to be given to them because of their girlfriend was sending them naked pictures and stuff. And the senior drill instructor is like, so what, scribe, house mouse, do you think you should get to see these pictures? He was making me make the decision. I'm like, yes, sir. He's like, I don't know if he gets to see it. then we all get to see it. And, you'd see whoever it was started to tear, like, I guess I'm not going to see it. Recruit, you don't get to see your pictures. And these, they'd start tearing, and, seeing a drill instructor would do his little magic. Like, okay, you get 5 minutes to look at all these pictures, but they go in that envelope and you get it, on graduation day or whatever. But I got to see drill instructors in a different light, being a scribe in the house mouse. The first time I've ever seen gentlemen dry sense of humor, saying some really funny ass shit with a serious face and loud tone of voice and a demeanor that was like, was he kidding? Or was he joking? Was he serious? Because he said it like he was angry, but it was hella funny. And so I had a hard time trying to distinguish. I don't know if he's mad or not, but by the end of boot camp, I realized they were just clowns. And everything they had to say was in a demeanor that was structured as authoritarian and couldn't show emotion or happiness or pain or whatever. But every once in a while, each of the drill instructors, even the senior drill instructor, would pop a smile real quick because something hella funny happened. But yeah, that was crazy. Boot camp was very challenging for me. I must have quit several times a day. I thought of, because I knew how to jump fences and I knew how to run faster. And I remember I was doing maybe 14:30, 15 minutes on the 30 miles. So I was like, I could beat that drill instructor. He would never catch me. I'd be over the fence running towards a plane. I could see the freeway over there. I'd be gone. And then I realized that I wasn't that fast because there were faster drill instructors out there. And I realized that there was no other way but going through it. And
you're going against guys that had done boot camp, more than one time.
For real. It was crazy. But senior drill instructor Sergeant Hernandez, he had a way of doing them senior drill instructor circles and just turning it around like, they're going home, so we're just gonna have a little.
That's funny. My senior was Staff Sergeant Hernandez.
Oh, he wasn't like big like Herman Munster, was he? Or on the
no, he was kind of tall, but he wasn't no Herman Munster.
Yeah, this guy was. He made Herman Munster look tiny, bro. He was huge. If I still had the pictures, I was probably right here to his black belt. That guy was huge, and he was like a helicopter mechanic or something like that. But huge teddy bear. Outside of, being in training, he was like a very respectful, compassionate man. Because I remember when I believe it was Camp Pendleton, or when I was in 29 Palms, I had made contact with him, and he was on the air wing on Camp Pendleton, and he was really cool guy. I was still afraid to talk to him, though. I was still afraid to talk to him. I never.
So where did you end up doing? Where did you end up going to school and all that stuff?
Fort McClellan, Alabama. Yeah.
Okay. And what was your actual? What was the actual MOS?
Military police.
Military police. And
Marines have to go to Army base for military police school.
Okay.
Fort McClellan was where all military police detachments were hosted. It used to be in Texas. I think when I went to military police school, it had left whatever Air Force base, or I believe it was the Air Force base in Texas, where military police schools or detachments were hosted, and they moved it to Fort McClellan. I think later on they moved it to Fort Leonard Wood after 5 or 8 years or whatever. But military police school had jumped around. So that was crazy because I had never flown all the way across to that side. And I was just wearing my alphas. When we arrived, there was like 6 feet of snow, and I was like, damn. Mind you, I was coming from Palm Springs, California, where it's like 120 degrees year round, basically, or most of the year. And the coldest would get 40, 45. Yeah. So being in a state where it's snowing, I was like, oh, damn. PT in the snow, everything in the snow. I was like, and they had to have all the windows open when we slept. And I was like, this is crazy. We're going to get sick. We're going to get
You were missing California real quick.
I'm going to die here. You know, it's cold. That was an experience because being out on Liberty, I had never experienced what I experienced outside the gates, being treated differently because, you know, we were from California for one. And then it's just certain areas, the cab drivers would be like, don't go down this street. I don't go down the street. I was like, okay, noted. We don't go down that way. For reasons we can already guess why. And I was like, oh, damn. I didn't realize then that certain organizations still existed. And I was like, wow, you know, going into a 7-Eleven, I'm like, hey, can you break 100? And they're like, we don't serve your kind. I was like, it's 100.
Wow.
And then that manager comes out and says, look, we don't serve your kind and your money don't blah, blah, blah. I was like, as I'm backpedaling out, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm sorry, wrong place. And leaving the 7-Eleven, I was like, wow, this is crazy. This is crazy. So we kind of hovered around just the outer limits of the base and never ventured out too far into Alabama. So I wasn't going to challenge it. I was fine with just going and get something to eat.
Yeah, they were old school. And I imagine being a California boy, you know, we're used to diversity and a lot of that stuff. So I imagine, you know, for you, you're like, it was like a total culture shock, huh?
Yeah, there was 4 of us. There was 4 of us, and Andrade, man, I can't even remember their names, but the 4 of us from LA area up to like San Diego, and we're just gonna stick together and come back to the common area where everyone's just playing their guitar, you know, playing handball or whatever, going to the gym.
That's funny. I had a Sergeant Andrade as a drill instructor.
I had Gunnery Sergeant Andrade in DI school. Yes.
Wow, that's
that
funny.
Guy would always foam up at the corners of his lips when he was doing his instruction. He was one of the meanest men I've ever met. But if you caught him on the sidelines, he was hella funny. And he, I don't know what it was, but that drill instructor school was so intimidating during training session. But when you saw them walking from point A to point B, they had huge smiles on their faces. And when they were in front of you, they looked like demons with horns coming out. I was like, oh man, these guys are human. These guys are human. But they had a pain threshold like crazy, man. I don't know where they got their energy from. I later learned.
So how long was it before you actually hit the drill field then? How long were you in before you actually decided to be a drill instructor? Because was that like 3-4 years already?
Let me see. Went to Iwakuni, 90. So 96, 97, 97, 98. Then went through 29 Palms as an MP from then to 2001. So 2001 to 2004. I had picked up Meritorious PFC. Then I picked up Meritorious Lance Corporal at Military Police School. I was an honor graduate. I owe that to Sergeant Castellea. Man, that guy was a mean motherfucker. Always had spit shine boots, press camis, and I ended up being his house mouse, and I realized, I was like, oh, no shit, this is why he's always looking sharp. He had like 16 sets of camis, 6 sets of boots that were already spit shine, and I always wondered, how the hell does he go in there, come back out looking sharp? And he had everything prepped already. That was my first, I kind of want to be a drill instructor too. Went to Iwakuni, and I had this CID investigator who was a former HAT, was everywhere. He was everywhere. And he had a huge influence on me wanting to become a drill instructor. So he's like, you need to go on a meritorious board. Go on. I never won them in Iwakuni. But when I got to 29 Palms, I just kept going through meritorious promotion boards. And First Sergeant Carter from Headquarters Battalion, he was a drill instructor. And Staff Sergeant Cruz from Iwakuni prepared me on how to do boards. And so when I went in there, I slammed, the pine. Went in there just like Staff Sergeant Cruz taught me, snap, pop like a drill instructor. And First Sergeant Carter goes, get out, do it again. It came back and he goes, that's how you come in and report to a meritorious promotion board. The rest of you, get the fuck out. And then had them try to do the way I was doing it. And I was like, okay, I just set the tone. And everyone's like, you asshole, what are you doing? So I ended up getting meritorious corporal. And then went to corporal's course. And I was like, damn. Just kept on going on boards, got meritorious sergeant off a board, and went to sergeant's course. When I went to sergeant's course, I got injured. We were playing soccer during sergeant's course, and someone came to slide, and my foot went 270 degrees clockwise. And everybody heard it.
God, damn, dude.
And it popped. And I was looking at my toe pointing that way, and my body was facing another way. I was like, oh, man, I just got orders to drill instructor school. Damn. Got rushed to the hospital, and the doctor's like, we're going to have to put you on a full body cast, and you're going to have to deny them orders. I'm like, oh, hell no, I'm not. I said, do I need surgery? No, but you're going to need some time to heal. I said, did I break anything, tear anything, No, you're just going to need a lot of time to heal. I said, okay, can I sign the release form? So I went to drill instructor school with that injury. They gave me 72 hours to empty my current base housing to go straight to San Diego, accept the other base housing, and then immediately go to DI school and report there. So I was a clusterfuck reporting it to DI school, and man, it was like going to boot camp. Like I just got off the white bus again. I was like, oh, what'd I do? How did this happen? Where I was pressed for time I moved the entire house by myself. I sent my wife and my son, who was just a baby, I said, go accept the base housing. I will pack everything up, throw it in the U-Haul, and I'll meet you there in 4 hours or 6 hours, whatever. Shit, it took me like 10 hours. I was just throwing everything in the U-Haul to empty it out so I can just get, give the keys back and go move. But from there, drill instructor school was that was a life-changing moment in itself too, because very, very challenging. I felt like giving up more times than I did when I went to boot camp the first time, bro. Yeah, DI school was tough.
Yeah, I heard DI school is no joke, man. The last guest I just had, Staff Sergeant Cruz, he's an active duty Marine. He was in the drill field. In the last episode, we just actually talked about drill instructor school. Our whole 2 hours was almost dedicated to talking about drill instructor school. Man, it is super intense for you guys. I can't believe it. And it sounds like, you guys if you don't do well during the week, they pull you on the weekends. And man, I definitely give my hats off to
your
drill instructors.
workload.
I have utmost respect after them guys, man. When you go through boot camp and stuff like that, you just go through, and then once you graduate, you leave. Your drill instructors typically leave a lasting impression on you, but you don't really think about, wow, that guy's going to go through like 8 more cycles or something. You know what I mean? And he's not done yet, and he's going
like
to do
16.
boot camp again. Yeah, my gosh, it is unbelievable how much, how many times drill instructors got to go through boot camp.
It was one of the best experiences of my life. It contributed to my survival when I was homeless, and went through several other personal adversities in my life. The Marine Corps alone can have a huge impact on someone, no doubt. Being a Marine Corps drill instructor, military police officer, having seen death up front at 19, 20 years old, as a PFC Lance Corporal military police officer, death, right? Not even in combat, but like suicides on 29 Palms were just skyrocketing. Domestic violence where, knives and guns and just terrible beatings and things that happen to children and women. Just as a military police officer was doing something to my mind. And then going to drill instructor school, that had a different a different impact on my mind and my heart and the will to survive in drill instructor school, mentally, physically, and right here, definitely will challenge any man or woman. I don't care. I don't give a fuck how tough you are. The mission is attrition. If they cannot break you, we do not continue. We do not continue until we all break. And that's when training starts.
Right.
And there's always that 1%, that 5%, or the 3% that will absolutely not want to break. And everyone has a breaking point. And mine was several times a day, trying to stay up, keep up with the assignments, trying to memorize everything, maintaining uniform, composure, keeping a positive mental attitude.
And while you're in drill instructor school, you did have a wife and a kid too, right?
Yes. That was even
that's
harder.
a whole challenge within itself, man. Right?
Yeah, knowing they were only 10 minutes away.
Yeah. How old was your kid at the
time? Let me see. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, or 2001. 4 going on 5. And then my daughter, or Isaiah, when we had Messiah is 96, and then Isaiah was in 29 Palms, and then Maya when we went to San Diego. So I already had 3 kids by then.
Oh, shit.
And so having them within 10 minutes drive time, I was like, man, they're only 10 minutes away. And here I am spending 3 months at a time here with the platoon. And maybe I would make it there for 30 minutes or 3 hours. They would say, hey, come back in 6 hours. So I'd like, okay, do I stay in the duty hut and sleep, catch up on work, press my uniforms, or do I go home and do what I would do in the duty hut at home? And thank God my wife, at the time, she would help me spit, shine, iron, while I was listening to, teach backs. Because I would read my teach backs, record it so I could play it, eat, iron, and listen, read, do all that for memorization. And my wife at the time was right there helping me with everything. And so I'm so grateful to her. She had the toughest 3 years during DI duty as well, being, home alone with the 3 kids. And that was tough on her, very tough on her. So, man, drill instructor duty was that helped me look at life in a whole different perspective, because everyone west of the Mississippi, every type of person came into light into each of our platoons. I was like, wow, everyone's upbringing, culture, the way they thought, the way they talked, the way they carried themselves. That was a huge adjustment for me. Learning how to speak to someone and learning how to teach someone. That was very, very influential in several moments of my life. When I went through adversity, being able to accept people as they were, and their intellect, their compassion or no compassion. I got to see that firsthand immediately as a drill instructor, learning how to speak to different types of people with different types of traditions, cultures, and upbringings. So drill instructor school once was awesome.
Yeah, I bet, man. And it sounds like it was a huge challenge, and it sounds like it probably one of your proudest moments, I imagine. I know when I graduated boot camp and I got my Eagle Globe and Anchor, the way I felt, I could imagine, becoming a drill instructor. It's that feeling's got to be absolutely amazing. Because like you said, you felt like quitting several times through the process. There you are at the end, you make it, and I mean, you got to feel like at this point in time you can do about anything, bust through a fucking wall or whatever. But
yeah,
I bet you were feeling like Superman after you graduated.
After I graduated DI school?
Yeah.
I felt like a recruit, to be honest, because I feared the J's, the junior drill instructors, the ones with the holes in their green belts. I had the most
those guys were the assholes.
Meanest junior drill instructor, Sergeant Walter Viscano. He made me quit so many times in my mind, and he pushed and pushed. My company was, and I think all companies have a certain personality to it, but man, he held me to a standard. I was like, how the hell do you expect me to do this, that, and this and that in 10 minutes? He's like, figure it out. You're a drill instructor. I was like, okay, impossible. I'm not going to be able to do that. He's like, you're going to do it. And I would figure out a way to make it all happen. Unbelievable. And so we ended up being really good friends. There was this moment where I snapped at him, and he brought me into the duty hut, and he goes, did it work? I was like, yes, it fucking worked. He goes, all right. Shook my hand. He goes, we're a team now. He says, I've been trying to break you, man. You're hard to break. And I was like, man, all you had to do was tell me, and I would have broke a long time ago. But he really pushed me to that. He taught me, if you, as a drill instructor, are not having a horrible day, if you are not uncomfortable, then the recruits are comfortable, and they're not going out to the fleet mission ready. So I know, in my opinion, my company, Mighty Mike, and I'm sure all the other companies and battalions were the same way. We raise them to a standard and hold them to a standard to where they're on the verge of breaking, and when they break, and then we start training from there. And so that, being able to chisel a masterpiece, basically training Marines, was very rewarding. Like, I thought it was like a gift that, was given to us to help take boys and make them men, and make these men into basically trained Marines, where, whatever MOS school they went to is where they started the real training, the real ground pounding shit. And so, yeah, I ended up getting meritorious staff sergeant at DI duty. I had
How many
received.
years are you in at this point in time when you get staff sergeant?
I picked up meritorious staff sergeant within six years. And I had a lot of hitters because
Gosh, damn, bro,
yeah,
that is super
I had
quick.
staff NCOs telling me for a military police officer, it takes about 10 to 14 years to pick up staff NCO, and you did it in less than 6 years. I was like, I owe it to Sergeant Castilleja, Sergeant Cruz, Gunny Becker, all the, Gunner Sergeant Parker. Oh my God. Major Aho, everyone who had led me and put me in billets, in military police billets. And, I was writing the blotters for the base. I don't know if you know what the blotters are. It's like the base newspaper. As a military police officer, you would have to write the blotters, correct it, and then post it, or give it to the provost marshal and then post it. But being held to those standards where we are correcting the blotters, the newspaper. Like, who does that? Perfection was already expected. And then going to DI school, I'm like, man, you want me to correct the Bible? Like, how am I supposed to correct the Bible? And that's the standard you're held to as a drill instructor, physically, mentally, academically, psychologically, don't show pain, don't show love, don't show humor, don't show anything, but be perfect. You cannot have anything in this array. Everything has to be perfect. If it's not perfect, then send it back. I was like, holy cow. That kind of trickled on through a lot of the areas of my life. And it was good and bad, because now here I am raising my children, holding my poor kids. They could not play unless their closets were organized from lightest to darkest, short sleeve to, their toys had to be organized before they could do anything. I was like, oh, what am I doing? They're kids.
You're creating some OCD guys, man. Holy
shit. I had to turn the switch off. Like, these are my kids. They're not recruits, So I had.
We're going to be doing a dunk on the bunk here, kids. Get your shit ready.
I was marching the kids and my ex-wife to the mall, singing cadence, and I would do it on as a joke. But what was very, very touching, my wife would bring the kids along the parade deck, lift up the back of the expedition, and they would just she knew when we would be marching on parade deck, and my kids would be watching us march all over the parade deck. That was awesome.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome.
You know how you do colors in the evening? Yeah, they would watch us do that, and so we tried to.
Super cool. I bet they loved getting to see that.
Yeah.
Pretty unique situation.
I know my younger kids, the two, don't have much of a memory of it, but Messiah, my oldest, he remembers a lot. He's a police officer now, and he's on the detail where they're doing honor guard, and so that stems from seeing what he saw on the drill field, and so I'm pretty happy that happened. So from there, I did 4 green belt cycles, 4 black belt cycles. I received the achievements of the leadership award for having honor platoons or being on honor platoons. Lots of first place awards for drill and stuff like that. Heck, I even got offered to be the 3rd Battalion drill instructor or drill master, and I chose to give it to one of the drill instructors who just had a lot of ara. So give it to him, and he did very well. Yeah, he did very well. He really wanted it, and I saw, Sergeant Fuller. I was like, man, take it. And so I went to 3rd Battalion training chief spot where I had to maintain the drill instructor training and the recruits training. Being able to do that with over 150 drill instructors and at any given time from 1,000 to 3,000 recruits, that was tough. That was a meticulous job, because not only did I have to monitor training executed and coordinate with supply, but I also had to do the graduation narrator billet, where I was the voice. And it was tough because hearing my voice just echoing all over the base, I was like, oh man, that's my voice. I had this little kid who was literally licking the window as I'm, ladies and gentlemen, and there's this little kid who's standing on the chair licking the window, and I have this boom mic. I'm like trying to get someone to get this kid, like get him out of my face. He's distracting me. And ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the invocation. And he's like licking the window. I'm like, I'm going to start laughing here. But that was very challenging because it would happen all the time. Yeah, it happened all the time. Or other drill instructors I knew would bring their families into the grandstand and, do something funny, like put their cover on, but have like a little note right here. And I'm like, oh, man. So I'd be trying to read the program and not get distracted. Drill instructor duty from the outside looking in is tough, but when you're in the mix behind the scenes, it is hilarious. So funny seeing drill instructors.
What were the years that you did DI? What years were it when you were a drill instructor?
2001 to 2004. Yeah, I never knew I could
stand
dude,
up and sleep. So you were probably at the depot when I rolled through there. Well, no, 2001. Never mind. I was in there in 2000. So you drill instructor of the year a year later.
2001, 2004. And when did you go again? I'm sorry, I had to.
I got out. I was in from 2000 to 2004. So I went to boot camp in 2000. So you were still probably in the fleet at that time.
What battalion were you in?
I was Alpha Company.
Alpha. Man, there were some.
Yeah, senior drill instructor, Staff Sergeant Hernandez, disciplined through pain. Platoon 1045. I remember all that stuff, man.
They were some.
But so after you were done with being a drill instructor and stuff like that, you got sent back into the fleet, and now you're a staff NCO, and you're back into being on the MP. I gotta imagine you probably came across some pretty crazy stuff being an MP. I know Marines are crazy as hell. Do you got a good juicy story for us?
I do. So I knew I was going to Camp Pendleton, and they knew I was inbound. And so, I had a welcoming committee at the quarterdeck of, security battalion. And they're like, oh, he's here. I'm walking up. I'm in my alphas ready to check in. I'm like, where's the CO's office? And oh, it's over there. But everyone's at lunch. Just wait till 1300 and you can check in with everyone up top side. Okay, no problem. I'll stay right here. I was like, oh shit. So I'm standing right outside the watch, the desk sergeant area, and across here's this one gentleman walking across the parade deck. He's got I believe it was a Duke's hat, and he's wearing just boots and utes. And he's got his blouse slung over his shoulder, and I'm like, oh hell no. These two staff sergeants who were talking to me kind of did an about face and kind of walked away. I was like, where are you guys going? Because they already knew I was going to say something. I was like, stop. take your ass back to your truck, get in the uniform of the day, and then you can come across this parade deck. Now, it was a little bit more colorful. And so the clock struck 1 and I went topside, and I'm parade rest standing in front of the company commanders. Actually, yeah, it was the company commanders and the battalion commanders who were like face to face. And it was the company commander that was walking across. And he goes, well, it's good to have you, Staff Sergeant. We know you're gonna, keep everyone within line and uphold the regulations. I was like, oh shit, sir, you're not in compliance. I could have gave you, what were those called? They were like little infractions you can write people. If you're a staff NCO or NCO, you could write someone. I can't remember what it was, but if you broke some article, you could write someone. I was like, I would rather have you go back to your truck and get back in the uniform and then come across it. Little did I know it was a company commander. But yeah, that was really funny. So everyone from then on kind of stayed away, and I had to make up for that because no one was really approaching me. Everyone thought like, shit, this is a drill instructor. He's going to be an asshole. And so what I did was I took the entire platoon on a run, like 6-mile run up Engineer Hill. And at the top is where I did like a little school circle and just connected with the platoon and passed my wisdom. And it was no longer, oh, he's a drill instructor. We connected. And so they knew I was there to learn from them. And by learning from them, I could lead them based on their capabilities and what they knew. So I truly believe that a leader is nothing without his subordinates or platoon or whatever. They're the ultimate leader, and you're like the person in the front that they get to, put up front there, and you represent them based on their knowledge, their skills, their abilities, and what's in their heart. Because if you say, let's charge that hill, and they don't want to, you ain't charging the hill. That's for sure.
Right.
You're not doing anything without the love of the platoon. And so I learned that real quick. It wasn't all about yelling. It wasn't all about, being authoritarian and just demanding. It was about connecting and putting them first, their families first. And mission was great after that. So
all right. So what ended up making you want to get out of the Marine Corps and stuff like that? So I saw you said you did 10.5 years. What led you to end up getting out? Did you want to get out?
That's a good question. There's many parts to that because I had requested to go to Afghanistan like 7 times, and they denied it because I was mission essential. I was the head instructor for the little military police school that we had, training FAPS, Fleet Assistance Program, and putting basically trained military police officers out in country. And so they kept denying. I was like, man, here I am in charge of the military police department. My brother-in-law, who went to boot camp, I followed him. He left, went into a police department, and he's like, come to my police department. Okay. And so I started a process to go to the police department. And what's funny is when I finally got to the point to where I reached the 90 days early out that got approved, they put my meritorious promotion, because I won another board to get meritorious gunny. And then my line number came up to get gunner sergeant through my line number. And then they put the orders to go to Afghanistan with a $30,000 bonus. And then they put the honorable discharge forms. Pick one. I was like, really? And I was about to say the colonel's name, so I just respectfully chose the honorable discharge and bid farewell and went into the police department. So that was hard for me to do because I thought I was going to be a sergeant major. I thought I was going to go all 30, you know, but I had an opportunity. I had learned that garrison MPs were going to go to the field side because they're going to bring in DOD police. I was like, oh, my heart is, you know, as a police officer. So I didn't know much of being a military police officer in the field. I was garrison the whole time. So it was the smartest decision for me because it took me through different achievements in the law enforcement field, and things happen the way they're supposed to. It's inevitable. But yeah, I went to a police department, and it was
Let's
hard.
talk about that whole adventure, being a police officer. You know, did you have to go through the academy and do all that stuff? Back to another boot camp again, almost.
A mixture of boot camp and remember, I had just left the Marine Corps being the lead instructor of a military police academy. So going to police academy, I ended up being the class leader, and that was difficult because not everyone was operating in the same space. And so I'm 100 miles per hour in one place, and they're still getting acclimated. So
did you feel like did you feel like the military police and then stateside police operate kind of the same, or was there some significant differences, or was it pretty much mirrored?
Whoa, good question. Some basic fundamentals, yes. Report writing, you know, de-escalation techniques, self-defense, you know, use of force stuff. Yeah, a lot of that's similar. Uniform standards, weight standards, coming out of being a military police officer where everyone had a height weight standard, and then seeing police officers looking like healthy police officers and unhealthy police officers. I was like, so what's the standard, you know? And because you're expecting everyone to do this one standard, but not everyone's capable. And so I was like, man, that's setting everyone up for failure because you're only as strong as your weakest man. And so I was like, oh, this is going to be rough. This is going to be really rough because we got to run up and down these hills knowing that not everyone's in shape. I was coming out doing 299 PFTs, 300 PFTs. And so I was great. Doing all the marching, you know, ended up being the high shooter, being top 3 in academics. There was one academy instructor who pulled me out of the platoon, shoved me into a room and said, "You're making some of us look bad. Slow the fuck down and stop yelling louder than the rest of the instructors." I was like, "Yes, sir." they threw me back out there, and I just kept yelling louder than the other instructors. They kind of shook their head. And there was one former drill instructor. He just kind of giggled, and he knew what I was doing. Like, you're not going to tell me stop yelling louder than your instructors. You need to yell at your instructors who yell louder than me. And so I wasn't being disrespectful. I was just doing what I was taught. Yell louder, because that's what they were telling me to do. So, but it was a great experience, police academy. I ended up going back to Rio Hondo Police Academy to help periodically. So, yeah, that was my experience for.
So let's talk about your whole career in the police force. How long were you, in the police, being a police officer and all that stuff?
So I was, let me see, 2007, 7 and a half years with that agency. I ended up picking up a handful of billets, being on patrol, and them knowing my prior experience, 10 years as a military police officer and, drill instructor. So I had a little bit of, I got a little bit of love because they knew where I was coming from, but they were still harder on me. They still groomed me to be a really good police officer, and I owe that to a handful of very, very dedicated police officers that knew their shit and kept me alive. If it wasn't for them, I could have pulled the last straw several different times. But, being self-defense instructor, baton instructor, bike patrol, taking on billets for the chief, shooting range, SWAT sniper, entry team on the SWAT team, and then being assigned to a detail with the FBI that did high-profile investigations that dealt with narcotics and everything else that comes with narcotics from south of the border all the way all over the nation, actually. Trying to keep that general and broad because, let's see, some of them that I had done investigations on, let's see, we're at about 10 years. Some of them should be getting released. Some of them are spending, 2 or 3 lifetime sentences, but some of them should be coming out soon. And for the rest of my life, I have to remember, even as a military police officer, I've put people in jail. I've applied use of force on, criminals, and they're not all going to stay in jail for a long time. And I've seen a handful of criminals that have been released, and I have always been a person that treated everyone with dignity and respect. So whether I had my family or my kids with me, they were very respectful because I was respectful to them during my encounters with them. Even bringing them to jail, they would, here, I'll put the cuffs on or whatever, and they would apologize like, hey, don't feel bad. I made my bed. I get to lay in it. I did the crime. I do the time, kind of thing. And so I learned to treat everyone with dignity and respect as a police officer. And if you can't walk down the streets of the city that you swear to defend and protect and serve, if you can't walk down the street and have conversations, then you got to think about how you're being a police officer. And that always stuck in my mind because the car is not going to protect you all the time. I was always on graveyard shift, and on graveyard shift, having only 6, maybe 7 police officers in the city that has over 250,000, in population, I knew I was just a pawn in the city, and the city belonged to the citizens. And so I knew to treat everyone with dignity and respect. It was their city, and I was just out there doing my best to regulate. So there's a lot to being a police officer in the city like that, in any city. And I don't think, and I'll tell you a story. There was this lady who used to complain all the time, complain. And no one knew how to make her happy. And the boot that I was like, put her in my car, put her in my unit, and just have her do a ride along. And in my beat, in my area, it was very, very, how can I say? It was a target-rich environment for drugs, guns, gang members. It was a target-rich environment for her to see exactly what it was like to be a police officer. And by the end of the evening, she was in tears, wrote a very lengthy apology letter and a letter of acknowledgement to the police officers that she had made complaints about, and apologized. And if only citizens who have an opinion about police officers could sit in the passenger seat of a police car and just experience one night compared to the several years a police officer has to serve on or off duty, because just because you're out of uniform doesn't mean you're not a police officer. There are people who will still kill a police officer or harm a police officer, whether or not you're wearing a uniform, and or disrespect you or offend you in front of your family or not. There's that type of evil out there. It's tough, very tough.
I bet, man. So you said you did it for 7.5 years, and then what happened after 7.5 years?
That's a tough one. I'm not sure if I can go over all the details, but I went through all in a congested time frame. I went through a divorce. I lost a very good friend, my best friend on the SWAT team, who was killed in the line of duty. The conversation that we had makes me go back and forth, because I had never really taken a vacation through the Marine Corps. And for me to be pulled aside by my best friend, he says, "Hey, I'll take your spot, on the SWAT team. Handle your divorce, take care of whatever you got to take care of, because you need to take care of your personal affairs." At the time, I was breaching. We were both breaching, and he ended up working an entry. Got the door open and wasn't able to successfully pull that screen door open, and was shot with a shotgun in the head area, neck/face area. And that was very painful, very, very painful. And that I wasn't there. It could have been me. I had some SWAT team members blaming me for his death because I took vacation, and he died in the line of duty. A lot of people didn't want to talk to me. During that period of time, I went through my divorce, the death of my best friend. I was facing some false allegations that took 2.5 years. 2.5 years of trials to clear my name. And my world just crumbled. Because of these allegations and the police officer association that didn't protect me, didn't defend me like I thought they would, the leadership I expected to protect me did not. Those who knew me, all my life and were very close to me, they turned their backs on me and or kept a distance from me. And, based on these allegations, I understood why they made those decisions. The allegations made against me were severe enough that I was almost murdered twice, and there were unreported attempts on my life, and I did not report it in fear that they would retaliate and try to kill some of my family members. So the undercover detail that I was in the capacity that I had to operate involved very dangerous people. And so it didn't matter whether I resigned and threw my badge in because my association or my leadership didn't defend me. There were still people out there trying to kill me because of these false allegations. It didn't matter where I went. During these 2.5 years, are you there?
You're good. Yep, you're good.
I got interrupted. During these 2.5 years, there were attempts on my life, and no one would believe me, believe my story had I said it out loud, and it probably would have just jeopardized a lot more. So it wasn't the only reason why I went homeless, but it was one of the biggest contributing factors. Had I continued to stay in and about my family and friends, I would have jeopardized their lives as well. So I was homeless on the streets in fear that anyone I loved or cared about, if anyone was with me, would be in danger because of these accusations. And it took 2.5 years to clear my name. And it was very disappointing because when the judge said and pulled the mic and said, Mr. Villanueva, on behalf of the Superior Court, the city, you can go ahead and create a new life now. Apologize for wasting 2.5 years of your life, basically. And the jury is kind of like, wow. And so without going into details on how that happened, I was then able to start rebuilding my life. It wasn't easy. It hasn't been easy facing people who closed doors in my face, would turn off the lights, close the blinds, and turn off the TV, whispering like, shh, he'll go away. And, all I was doing was asking for a bottle of water. I was living under bridges, sleeping in trees, sleeping in playgrounds. I went from living in a house to a trailer, a fifth wheel, to my truck, to a car, giving up the car, and then bouncing around couches. And then it got to the point to where people were saying, you're not welcome here. I can't be seen talking to you because of what you're going through. And just stay the fuck away from us is what a couple of people actually literally said. Just don't fucking come around here or else I'll, as they're holding their gun, I'm like, yo, I'm family. Why are you holding your gun? Like, all I want is just to take a shower, a bottle of water. And I had family and friends doing this to me who I, with a smile, have encountered over the last couple of years. And I forgave them, based on what they knew, what they read, what they heard. They passed judgment on me, and it happens. What's important about that is I didn't treat them I didn't reciprocate. I just understood where they were coming from and just disappeared for 3 years on the streets where no one can find me. So rebuilding my life, having all that, it's never going to disappear. I'll never forget it. Every time I have a job application, I have to explain it. If I'm trying to meet a woman, I have to explain it. I'm trying to meet a new friend, and someone who decides, I'm gonna do a little background check on this guy before, I let him into our business or our lives or whatever. And so I don't just meet someone and say, hey, my name is Reggie. I was falsely accused of blah, 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 blah. That would be ridiculous. I would never be able to function in this world. And so there's a fine line where, or there's a time and place where I have to disclose this information, relive it all. And it's not easy. And I do it coming from a place of recovery. You know, I was homeless, addicted on drugs, alcohol, surviving. What I was decorated and awarded for as a police officer, FBI undercover, awarded for doing certain things during investigations. And when I was doing it to survive on the streets, you know, then it was frowned upon. Like, you're a disgrace, you know. When I had to do what I did as a police officer, you're awesome. You're a wonderful police officer or FBI agent. But when I did the same very thing on the streets to survive, I was a piece of shit. And people literally spit on me. And, you know, they treated me like scum. But I never reciprocated.
What do you say was like the turning point for you that made you able to turn it all around and get yourself back off the streets and kind of pull your life back together? Was it after all the legality stuff was over? That was kind of the start of your new beginning, or?
Well, so the two trials ended, and I was like, okay, I told you. No one ever believed me. And there were a handful of people that never said anything back. And some people said, oh, I knew you were telling the truth all this time. And some just kept their distance. But to answer your question, I tried to get jobs. I went from breaking concrete, pouring concrete, tree cutting, shoveling horse shit, 10 hours a day. I did every hard labor job there was available in Las Vegas. Scraping gum off the convention floors and everything you could possibly think of, dishwashing, cook, you name it, I did it. Painting curbs, trying to get out of my hole and trying to find a job that paid well. It was difficult. I came across some very compassionate business owners who took me into the landscaping, showed me how to do that, passed me over to another business owner, a friend, who said, here, you're going to do this. And they fed me. They helped me pay off, you know, my court fees. They helped me pay off a lot. They helped me get to church. They helped me get my bicycle. The bicycle helped me get onto the bus routes. And that helped me get a motorcycle. That motorcycle helped me get a car. It helped me get an apartment. But the day that changed was 2.5 weeks. I was laying down somewhere off Michael and I can't remember the street, but I was in front of a liquor store. I had been laying there for maybe 2.5 weeks. My hands were crusty, dehydrated. I haven't been eating. And I realized as the snowflakes were falling on my face, God's not going to let me die. You know, He's not going to let me die. Having faced all the life-threatening situations in the Marine Corps, you know, 2 helicopter crashes, all the life-threatening situations as a police officer on the streets, I realized God's not going to let me die. I'm not going to die here. I could hear my skin like potato chips. So I made my way to the Salvation Army homeless shelter, where they helped me get into the VA hospital, get my resources, went through every single department that I could get, medication, therapy, everything I could, like recreational therapy, meditation, Tai Chi, painting class. I did whatever I could to be in the VA hospital so I wouldn't be out on the streets. And that entire time I was living in a homeless shelter, trying to build my life. And I'll share a picture with you. I'm wearing a suit and tie, suspenders. And I share this picture with everyone because I was on 2.5 years of homelessness, going up and down the Las Vegas Strip, leaving the homeless shelter, trying to find a job, and getting denied because of my criminal background, or the allegations. I forgot to mention this. Trying to get out to Las Vegas, I got a car, and in efforts to find a job and start a new life, purchasing it person, and got pulled over because the license plate was hanging, and discovered it was a stolen vehicle. So I spent my first week in Vegas trying to change my life. The first 7 days in jail, I had shown all the purchasing papers. I'm like, I bought this, and they dismissed it. They dismissed it, and they're like, I'm like, do I get the car back? They're like, no, it's still stolen property. And that is the one thing that's keeping me from getting this job. And I got all the court documentation, and I'm on the verge of getting it, providing all these court documentations to show that the case was dismissed, and there were other things. But breaking out of homelessness, addiction, the key to that was in here and here. I had to identify why, because, and just like everyone else who goes to sleep seeing dead bodies, hearing screams, seeing flashes and fire, all our triggers, being able to find a positive state of mind in alignment with why, your purpose, your heart, what makes you stand up and breathe and keep your heart beating. That was when you reach a point in your life where you're like, why do I want to live? And I had to start with, because I deserve it. I deserve to be happy. I deserve to recreate my life. I deserve to become a healthier, stronger person. And believe it or not, a lot more happened after I broke out of homelessness. So I discovered my why. It was my kids. It was me. It was creating a new family, being able to find love again, a healthier life, being able to make, the same salary that I was making or more. But so I'm living in this apartment. I'm making good money, working on solar panels, making $25 an hour. So many people have helped me. And this drunk driver smashes into my car. I had been saving for a whole year, smashes into the car. I only been driving it for less than a week and a half. I just got the tags for it. Boom. Drunk driver, hit and run, and puts me in a wheelchair. And there I am, suffering, having to go through physical therapy and all that with the chiropractors and stuff. And lucky for me, I had a corporal who took care of me within moment's notice. He was there. He has his reasons why he came to help me while I was in that wheelchair, struggling. I have videos of me trying to climb up these stairs, but I lost my apartment because I could no longer provide an income to pay for that apartment, back in a homeless shelter. And wow. I didn't want to live in a homeless shelter anymore, so I was couch surfing. Everyone who thought I was living in an apartment had no idea I was living in a homeless shelter, working, appearing on social media like life is grand, but I was living in a homeless shelter, working at, the places I was working at. And it wasn't till August of last year where I got this apartment. What helped me was I had very, very great friends who I call angels, who were there unconditionally, family members who have been there unconditionally, that helped me maintain a positive mental attitude, state of mind, gave me purpose, unconditional love. No matter how many bad decisions I make, was the contributing factor that gave me like, okay, someone cares. Whether or not they were family, or who I perceived as family, knowing that someone cared and was looking out for my best interest also helped. Reminding me of the person I was, have been, and can be, consistently reminding me, Reggie, this is who you are. This is who you can be. And that helped me get to where I'm at today. And so now I have evolved to giving back to others who are going through mental suffering, PTSD, injuries that, whether it's from combat or some unforeseen accident, or just someone who's stuck in the dark. What I'm doing right now, life insurance. I'm a full-time professional security officer doing private security, and I have a business where I'm promoting mental wellness. The ultimate business is still in the process. And I'll tell you, a podcast and a business that I'm calling Make an Impact Global. It's going to have a handful of features in there where we are giving back to the world, not just the community, but to the world. And it starts with mental wellness, being in alignment with your brain, your heart, your gut, and understanding how that all ties into happiness, sleep, rest, focus, being able to have intellect so that you can be productive. And it all starts with mental wellness. And so that's my purpose now. If I could push away from my full-time job and just do that alone, one-on-one life coaching, helping, just influence. I can't guarantee change. I cannot guarantee change. I've said this in one of my reels. I cannot guarantee it, but I know damn well I can influence it, and I will be right beside you along the way until I hear you say, I got it. And so when someone is able to say, Reggie, I got it from here, man, that is very, very rewarding for that individual alone. And it's a blessing from God for me to be able to, not with a gun, not with a sniper rifle, not with the police car, not with drugs, not with cartel, not with mafia, not with violence, but with just loving words of empowerment, motivation, reminding people of their own greatness, reminding people of who they are, what they've overcome, and what is still left over to achieve. And some people are not aware of their blind spots. And so that's where I come in, is awareness, empowerment, from compassion alone and the love of God.
And you know what, man? It seems like you'd be perfect for that and a great advocate because you've been through a lot of different mental health type of deals, divorce, false accusations, homelessness. I mean, my gosh, in seeing, death, many of times, I'm sure, being in the, a police officer, definitely, it's not you see some of the worst things in the world. I mean, I can't imagine. So, I imagine you're in a good place now where you could be a very good advocate to a lot of people and, and maybe hopefully pave a ground for them to get through it a little bit easier. Going through rough times is never easy at all, right?
No, it's not. And you know what, Brian, I'm no expert. I'm not better than anyone. I'm just, have you ever seen someone drowning? You ever see someone like reaching for a hand and being the one that can pull someone up? How do I know I'm strong enough to pull this person up? But I will fucking try. If someone's reaching out their hand, I'm not going to give you just a little lazy hand. I'm giving you both hands. I will give you everything, even if it pulls me in with you. wherever you are, I will. I'm willing to go where you are, so we can both walk out together. I can't guarantee you will walk out with me, because what I have experienced and what I have seen myself persevere through and overcome may not be the same threshold that another person has, but I will go. I'm willing to go there and walk you out of it, if you're willing to walk out. That's the number one thing, is you have to decide and be humble enough to say, can I have some help? Or can you walk with me? Can you talk with me? Do you mind spending 5, 10, 30 minutes? Just listen to me. Yeah, I could do that. Sometimes that's all it is someone wants to be heard. And when you put someone in a corner and no one wants to look at you, spend time with you, listen to you, not even help you brainstorm, try to find a solution, then you're like, fuck it then. A lot of people have given up because of that. And so this is where I come in, and whoever else wants to join hands with me, like, I know what it's like. I know how to identify certain things and say, come on, you don't have to reach out your hand. I'm giving you mine. I'm giving you my hand. Take both of them if you like. And don't worry about it. I got more people behind me. Not right now, but I will. And even if this entire year I am doing what I'm doing and I save one person and I help one person and that one fucking person is me, then I've succeeded. But I know that's not true. Being out there doing what I'm doing is gonna make an impact in the world. And starting off with Marines, there's a brotherhood, there's an unexplainable force of camaraderie that says, what are we doing now? What's the mission now? Believe it or not, everyone who's out of service is looking for something to do, is looking for a purpose to serve our fellow man. And we have a society, a government that is making it difficult to survive, to just receive our benefits that we deserve from being injured and, PTSD, and just cost of living alone. We have, the economics is difficult for everyone to do what they would like to do. So we have military service members who would love to help, but can't, because they have to help themselves first and can't afford to do so. And so I have resources. It may not be your ideal cup of tea, but it's a start. It's a stepping stone to create income, to create a positive state of mind, to rebuild your heart, your purpose, to get healthy again. I'm going to be right there, helping you walk. And then, the doctor told me I'd never run again. I might be able to walk, but here I am, I'm running. I'm not in that wheelchair. My cane is here in the corner. I use it sometimes when I do long drives, but everyone's why. If you know why, then how is irrelevant. If you know why you need to live, why you need to do, why your purpose is, then how you do it is irrelevant. It doesn't matter. You will make it happen. And most of the time, Marines among Marines, camaraderie, power in numbers, and that's a force to reckon with, man. Like when everyone's saying, we got you, brother. We're going to go have a barbecue. You can stay in your fucking room and be sad and whatever because of this, that, the other, or you can come with us. We're not active duty, but we're going to go do some things that Marines do. And that's play music, smile, go fishing or whatever. It's small steps, small baby steps. And that's what I'm doing. I have positioned my place strategically because I've been in so many different, departments, mental health, physical therapy, Tai Chi, everything to get the mindset right so that you are confident enough to start doing the things that you want to do in your life. And that's where my one-on-one coaching comes in, and that's coming in soon. my podcast coming soon, my Make an Impact Global business coming soon, and my business with Amare meaning love, and all the mental wellness, physical wellness products that are available to someone who is looking for recommendations. That is all in place so that when I identify this is why, maybe you should, here's a recommendation. And eventually someone or many are going to see that opportunity and be like, hey, I want to help people too. Because I know a handful of people that are in their cave, for lack of better words, or in their dungeon, just punishing themselves for the pain they inflicted, the lives they took, the lives they've had in their hands. I just had a nightmare last night, and I couldn't understand it because I'm very happy right now. I'm a great version of my life right now. And last night I had a dream that confused me. I was on my knees, painfully crying, and I don't know if it was painfully crying because I had killed people or because I was just in a position where I had been holding people who had died. And so I woke up and I was like, oh shit, whoa, where did that come from? Because I'm really in a happy state of mind. And someone told me, well, what was your interpretation? And now that I think of it, my only explanation for that is I, in my conscience, can't save everyone. I'll die trying. And that was my interpretation. I will do what I can to help. I can't guarantee it. I'll do what I can to influence it. And I'm willing to go there. I'm willing to go where other people don't care to. Other people aren't brave enough or confident enough to help someone. And that's what makes me different is I'm willing to go as far deep as possible to help pull a brother or a sister, military or not. I don't give a fuck if they're military, what branch of service. They're a child of God. And so that's what I'm doing. And so my walk with God is a lot stronger than having battalions behind me. But I think that's what he's doing, is placing a battalion of Marines and citizens who are proud of being a citizen and are aware that we need to create a happier world to eradicate a lot of the evil out there. So will we be able to get rid of all crime, evil? No. But the only thing we can control is creating positive mental attitude and positive minds and loving hearts, healthier bodies. That's what we can control. And so it's an endless battle, but I have a purpose. And so some of you out there will as well. So that's where I'm coming from. That's what I'm doing every day.
Well, and I really appreciate it, Reggie. I mean, you have one hell of a story, and I'm glad you took the time to come on here and tell your story to everybody, share some of your life experiences. I've really enjoyed having you on, man. I'm sure we could probably do a part 2 of this because we could probably talk forever. Okay. But I'm not going to keep you much longer. But man, like I said, I'm so appreciative of you and everybody watching. Go check out Reggie. He's over on TikTok. I don't know if you have any others. What's your social media platforms and stuff like that?
Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Reggie's Making an Impact. My Facebook, I have 2. I got the Reggie's Making an Impact and Reginald Villanueva for friends and family, and my business page. But same thing for Instagram.
All right, Reggie's Making an Impact. Everybody, go check that out. Reggie, once again, Ural, Semper Fidelis, Marine veteran. All right, brother. Take care, man.
All right, thank you, sir. God bless.
Next time.
Hurrah. You're not going to be able to see the cone impacts. No.
Well, unless you get a trace, he may have hit the cone. He may have hit the cone on that.
It looked like the trace was. It looked like it was even with the poppers behind it.
Okay, they're the same distance.